You're good.
At this time, we'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for the purpose of agenda review for next week's meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Here.
Commissioner Allen? Here. Commissioner Clickham?
Here.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Chairman Eilert?
Here. We do have a quorum present. Would the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda items?
Item number 1, consider ratifying the chairman's reappointments of Roger Cooper, Jane Fletcher, Judge Michael Joyce, and Gordon Docking to the Mental Health Center Advisory Board through February 5, 2021. Item number 2, consider ratifying the chairman's appointment of Anthony Privatera to the Transportation Council through August 31, 2021. Item number 3, invitation for bid number 2017-089. Consider authorizing a contract with American Roofing, Inc. for roof replacement at the New Century Pump House building for a total amount not to exceed $119,737. And item number 4, resolution number 015-18. Consider approving an agreement submitted by the City of Olathe, Kansas, and Fire District Number 2 of Johnson County, Kansas, and ordering the detachment of land from the boundaries of the Fire District and the transfer of such land to the city for fire protection services.
Okay, facilities have any comment on number 3?
Good morning, Chairman Eilert and Commissioners. I'm Brad Reinhardt with Facilities. I thought I'd just give you a real brief overview of this project. It includes a complete roof replacement at the Pump House building at the New Century Airport. There's 4 separate roof areas, and it's a relatively small roof area, about 5,300 square feet. And the existing roof has exceeded its life and developed leaks, and the membrane is starting to pull away. So we've engaged a roofing consultant to inspect the roof and prepare the construction documents to go out for bidding. We had 9 companies that attended a pre-bid conference on this work, and 4 companies submitted bids, and American Roofing was selected and is recommended for award based on their lowest bid submission.
The Airport Commission reviewed this?
The Airport Commission has reviewed it and approved it as well.
Okay. Other questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Reinhardt, is there some kind of engineering estimate or independent equivalent that shows what the cost,
Yes, the consultant put together an opinion of probable costs at $177,000, so the bids came in quite a bit lower than that estimated cost.
Thank you.
Okay. Remain on consent? Okay, so noted. And in regards, Mr. Ford, are you here? This is pretty much of a technical item next, but would you briefly explain?
Do we have the map? This was a small annexation by the City of Olathe of a single tract at the corner of 175th Street and Ridgeview. I believe there's just a single family home and some outbuildings there. And the Fire District in Olathe is part of the annexation and detachment from the Fire District. Have entered into an agreement that covers the cost transfer of responsibility, and that's under the state law. Those agreements have to come to this board for approval. So,
Mr. Ford, is there, because it involves or is a result of an annexation, is there any reason that this has to be taken separately on an action agenda?
I don't believe so. No,
Okay.
It's not a public hearing or anything like that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clickham?
Mr. Ford, what type of financial impact will this detachment have on the district? What are we talking about, mill levy revenues that'll be dropped out?
I can't answer that question specifically, but I can tell you that I looked at this site. I've looked at the aerial of it, and it's a one single-family residential property on less than a half acre, maybe a quarter of an acre. So if that home's $250,000,
It'd be minimal.
It's
Okay.
a few dollars.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, obviously with the challenges of the financial issues with the fire department, I'm going to be real concerned as these things come forward, especially with annexation and stuff, because the need to protect the financial stability of that district, as well as the bonds that have been issued to support it, are going to be real crucial in the near future.
Certainly.
Thank you.
you.
Mr. Ashcraft, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It sounds like Fire District 2 is comfortable with this transfer or reassignment, however you describe it. Am I reading this correctly?
Yes, sir. They've entered into an agreement, and they also have entered into a financial.
Okay. So there will be some minor financial implication for the district and the city. The one question I have, and it's just kind of a cautionary tale, in the last few months, we had an issue in a different part of Olathe where a fire district was supposed to be detached but wasn't, and there were some homes, some properties that were being billed twice, double service as it were. So I hope whatever mechanism, and I know that's not necessarily a legal department, but I hope you're able to communicate to the administrators involved that we don't have similar circumstances here, if you know what I'm referring to.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, unless there's an objection, this will remain on consent. Moving to the proposed action agenda. First item.
Item number 5, consider approving the March 1, 2018 business session minutes.
Mr. Allen was not at the meeting, so that will remain on action. Next item.
And item number 6, resolution number 014-18. Consider City of Overland Park application numbers PLT 2017-127 and PLT 2017-133. Request for preliminary and final plat to allow expansion of an existing single-family subdivision to be known as Wilshire by the Lake West in the vicinity of the northeast corner of 159th Street and Clouvera Road.
Jay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Excuse me, good morning. Jay Leipzig, Planning Development Codes Director. This item is before you. It's approval of a final development plan and preliminary development plan of the City of Overland Park. It is brought before you because it is within 1 mile of the Johnson County Executive Airport. It was approved by the City of Overland Park on March the 5th, approved by the Planning Commission on February the 11th. The Airport Commission has recommended approval, and staff has recommended approval of this item. It's an expansion of an existing subdivision called Wilshire by the Lake. It's approximately an additional 20 acres of an existing 95-acre subdivision.
But it's before us because of the proximity to the airport. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Any other questions? Well, this is a zoning item, so it will remain on action. Next item.
Item number 7, consider a request from Thurman L. Duncan, applicant landowner, for rezoning from RUR Rural District to RLD Residential Low Density District for a 5-acre lot and a conditional use permit for oversized building on 5 acres, and for a preliminary and final plat to replat Lot 1, Homestead Meadows East, into 2 residential lots of 5 acres and 12 acres, Homestead Meadows East 2, at 32335 West 115th Street. And it says, note, the application's been withdrawn.
Okay. Jay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this item was withdrawn by the applicant. After further discussions with him, we believe that there are some other alternative options that might be better suited for the land development.
So this application will be completely withdrawn, not deferred?
That is correct.
All right.
Completely withdrawn.
So we shall remove it from our agenda. And that's at the request of the applicant?
Yes.
Does there need to be formal action taken next week, Mr. Jarrett?
No, if we have in writing from the applicant that it's withdrawn, then we have to take it off and we can't act on it.
Okay, all right, thank you. So noted. Next item.
Item number 8, request for proposal number 2017-069. Consider authorizing a contract extension and amendment with Crystal Clear Enterprises for custodial services in an amount not to exceed $290,000 to cover the time frame from May 1, 2017 to April 30, 2018, and authorize a new countywide term and supply contract for custodial services with Crystal Clear Enterprises, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $875,000 annually for a period of 24 months with the option to renew for 3 additional 12-month renewals.
Ms. Lyons.
Good morning, Chairman Eilert and Commissioners. Robin Lyons, Purchasing Manager. The item before you is twofold. Both are with Crystal Clear Enterprises, Inc. for custodial services. The first item is a contract extension and amendment in the amount of $290,000. It was discovered as part of the RFP process. The extension allowed for the RFP process to be completed to be able to bring the new contract forward. The amendment was actually done when Arts and Heritage was brought online in May of 2017. And with that addition of services, the expenditure value exceeded the staff contract authority. On the positive note here, in 2016, January 2016, purchasing implemented the new Ion Wave electronic bidding and contract management system. With that, there is a contract management component that will help us track contracts to prevent items such as this coming forward in the future. The second part of the item is the countywide term and supply contract for $875,000 annually. Staff spent extensive time revising and reviewing specifications from the previous contract, including lessons learned and challenges faced with the current contract that we have with Woodley Building Maintenance. Some of the items that were added or revised were environmentally safe chemicals that met LEED certification standards. They included staffing models. New equipment was required at the start of the contract. Extensive quality control and assurance, staffing levels, man hours, quality of similar work, personnel, and the project approach. 9 firms responded to the request for proposal. 6 were interviewed. Crystal Clear Enterprises was the top-ranked firm, both with cost and without. Cost was evaluated at 20%. Crystal Clear's cost proposal was the second highest cost proposal provided. One of the compelling reasons for going with Crystal Clear is their processes and procedures more closely match what the county does. Originally, the intent of the committee was to bring forward 2 contracts. We were looking at having some redundancy and some options because, as we all know, custodial services can be a challenge at times with the level of cleanliness and satisfaction. When staff approached both Crystal Clear and ISS for contracts, ISS declined a contract due to not getting the full book of business. Upon that, staff did reevaluate and look at the next ranked vendor. They looked at their staffing plan and also did reference checks, and it was determined at that point in time that the next ranked vendor really did not meet the county's expectation for moving forward with them. The request here for the contract, the new contract with Crystal Clear, is for it to go into effect immediately upon approval and contract execution. Facilities and wastewater and library have a plan to transition the current buildings that are on Woodley Building Maintenance as quickly as possible. We do have a 30-day written notification clause in our contract with them for termination. And with that, I would like to thank staff from wastewater, from library, and facilities in assisting in the process of coming forward with this recommendation. And with that, I stand for questions.
Just let me clarify your comments. The one contractor wanted a larger contract for additional facilities. Is that right?
So when we originally looked at this, we have 23 sites that are included in this contract. And we broke it down between north and south locations. The intent was to give one vendor the north location and one vendor the south location. When ISS was approached with that, they declined because they wanted all locations. Both locations? Yes.
And then another vendor, their work performance was examined?
Yes.
And after that examination, then the third vendor was the only one left standing?
There were 6 that were evaluated. We looked at the top 3 that were ranked throughout the process because of their models, their staffing hours, and it was determined after doing the extensive research and checking the next ranked that they really didn't meet the qualifications. Crystal Clear was the top ranked for all locations regardless in the very beginning. Staff was just trying to have some options in case we did have challenges in the future. Currently, we have a contract with Woodley Building Maintenance, and we're having issues with them. So we didn't want to be back in the same position where the majority of our buildings were with one company and not having
All right,
options.
thank you. Other questions? Mr. Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lyons, I want to also thank you for visiting with me yesterday. I've reviewed this. I'm a little bit confused still, so maybe before next week we can sit down and talk about it a little bit. The first part, evidently there was a bit of a glitch when you transitioned systems, so this contract was missed in terms of the standard renewal timetable. That's my understanding. And hopefully you or whoever's in charge of your IT processes have verified that there aren't any others pending out there, but I get that part. The other part is the costing, and as you and I have discussed, I would be interested in understanding the cost proposals that were presented, and also under the alternatives, it talks about the analysis indicated outsourcing to be the most cost-effective approach. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. I don't know if that's your issue or Mr. Reinhardt's. Mr. Reinhardt's shaking his head furiously, so I would like to learn a little bit more about that. And you're right, having this service, it's oftentimes an unseen and unsung service, but it is very important not just for the people who work here, but also for our customers at large. And I'd like to learn a little bit more, if I could, before next week.
Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Mr. Clickham?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I did have a chance to visit for a while with Robin over this issue, because it did raise some flags when I saw it coming forward. Robin, I appreciate you. While I know it's frustrating to you all that you guys missed this timeline, I do understand that we had a lot of things happening at the same time with the addition of the Arts and Heritage facility and trying to deal with that, and that helped identify that we had a glitch. I secondly appreciate that once you figured out what that glitch was and the problems that it did, that you all went immediately to go ahead and begin the RFP and get this thing on track. So thank you on that. I would also agree with Commissioner Ashcraft. Hopefully we've figured that out, so we'll catch those in the future. Then along with this, we did talk about the pricing and the potential award here to the successful bidder. I did ask questions relative to the dollar amount because as compared to last year, the existing contracts and things like this, initially my thought was $875,000 was a high number. Well, once I figured that out, that we were dealing with two contractors in the past, and in addition, that if we were to take into consideration the cost of or the scheduled cost increase to that contract, I found that this dollar amount was fairly close to what we're paying actually this year. Am I correct with that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I appreciate the going in on that. You also stated that you were trying to see about the possibility of going for another two contractors, but through the RFP process, the second one down or third one down that were capable of potentially meeting our needs, we're more interested in having an all or nothing bid, and therefore we're not very much interested in participating with that. Am I getting that squared away?
The second one was, yes.
Okay. And with that, though, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time they gave me to understand this, and we'll deal with it next week then, I guess.
Okay, well, any other questions? This will remain on action. So are there any other items?
No, sir.
All right, that concludes our agenda review for next week. We are adjourned from that. We remain in recess from our original meeting, and we'll reconvene shortly for the agenda review for the Public Building Commission next week. Thank you all.